You look in the mirror and see someone who can still do things most people their age have given up on, and you wonder, is this normal? Am I the only one who still has this energy, this drive, this capability? Let me tell you something that might surprise you. If you're over 65 and can still do certain things, you're not just rare, you're exceptional. And most people won't tell you that because they gave up on themselves long ago. I know because I've spent the last 20 years watching friends, acquaintances, people my own generation simply surrender to the idea that getting older means stopping. And I refuse to believe it. I'm 71 now and still do things that people in their 40s tell me they can't anymore. But it wasn't always this way. There was a point in my life when I almost became part of that statistic, of that 98% who just accept defeat. I was 63 when my doctor told me something that changed everything. I was in his office for a routine checkup, thinking everything was fine, when he looked at me with that serious expression and said, "You're aging faster than you should be. Your joints are weak, your posture is compromised, your balance isn't what it should be. If you continue like this, in 2 years you'll need a cane. In 5, you'll be in a wheelchair." I just sat there, staring at him, and the first thing I thought was, this can't be happening to me. I'd always been active, always taken care of my health, or at least I thought I had. But the truth is, I had stopped challenging myself, stopped really moving, stopped doing the things that keep the body alive. I had fallen into the trap of believing that 60 was the beginning of the end. I left that office and drove home in a deafening silence. My wife noticed something was wrong, but I couldn't speak. I spent the entire night thinking about all my friends who had already given up. There's Carlos, who can barely climb a flight of stairs without getting winded. Maria, who complains about her back hurting every time she has to bend down. Robert, who at 67 is already using a cane and says it's just his age. Tony, who's given up on traveling because he says it's too exhausting. Brenda, who spends her whole day sitting and watching TV because she says she has no energy for anything anymore. And all of them, every single one, repeats the same phrase like a mantra. It's age, there's nothing you can do. Your body isn't the same. As if it were a divine, immutable, inevitable sentence. And you know what haunts me the most to this day, realizing that I was starting to repeat those same phrases. I was starting to use my age as an excuse not to do things I was perfectly capable of doing. When my granddaughter asked me to play in the park, I'd say I was tired. When my wife suggested a walk, I'd invent some ache. When opportunities arose to try new things, I'd immediately think it was too risky for someone my age. Tell me in the comments below, do you also use age as an excuse? You can just write, "I use age as an excuse not to," and finish the sentence. It can be anything: exercise, travel, new projects, whatever. Sometimes, when we put it into words, we realize the excuse is just that, an excuse. And you know what? Your comment might just wake someone else up who's sabotaging themselves in the same way. So tell me, what do you use age as an excuse for? That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to accept that diagnosis as a final sentence. I started the very next day. I woke up early, put on an old pair of sneakers, and went for a walk. Not a run, just a walk. I went to the end of the block and back. It might not sound like much, but for someone who had spent the last few years sitting in front of the TV, it was revolutionary. The second day, I went a little further. The third, even further. Within a week, I was walking 40 minutes a day. Within a month, I was stretching in the morning, doing light strengthening exercises. Within 6 months, I was doing things I hadn't done in 20 years. And with each small victory, I realized something fundamental. My body hadn't abandoned me. I had abandoned my body. But here's what nobody tells you about truly growing older. It's not the body that gives up first, it's the mind. It's you deciding it's time to stop, that you can't anymore, that it's too risky, that you've done your part. And when you accept that narrative, your body simply obeys. It adapts to your new reality of inactivity, of surrender, of accepting decline. And before you know it, you really can't do those things anymore, not because your body isn't capable, but because you've trained it not to be. You've spent years telling your muscles they don't need to be strong anymore, years telling your joints they don't need to be flexible anymore, years telling your heart it doesn't need to work vigorously anymore. And they believed you? Today, at 71, I do things that leave people in their 40s and 50s gobsmacked. I climb stairs without holding on to the railing. I bend down to tie my shoes without bracing myself. I carry grocery bags without pain. I wake up without stiffness. I go to bed without needing 5 sleeping pills. I travel. I drive long distances. I play with my grandkids on the floor without needing help to get up. Last week, I repaired a fence in the backyard, spending the whole afternoon squatting, standing, lifting, carrying. My 45-year-old neighbor saw me and said he couldn't do that without being laid up for the next 3 days. And no, I'm not special. I don't have privileged genetics. I wasn't born with some magical gift. I simply refuse to give up. Do you want to know what separates the 2% who succeed from the 98% who fail? It's simple. The 2% don't believe the lie that 65 is the beginning of the end, the lie that pain is normal, the lie that you have to accept limitations just because everyone else does, the lie that your body can no longer recover, strengthen, adapt, and the biggest lie of all, that taking care of yourself at this age is vanity or stubbornness. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, come on, you lived your life, now it's time to rest," as if living and resting were the same thing, as if resting meant giving up. Let me tell you about Miguel. He was my best friend since we were in our 20s. We did everything together our whole lives. We worked together, raised our kids together, grew old together. When we hit 60, he started to check out. First, it was his knees. Said they hurt too much to walk. Then it was his back. Constant pain, he'd say. Then it was the fatigue. Always too tired to do anything. I tried to get him to move, to seek help beyond pills, to not accept decline as inevitable. He'd laugh at me, said I was stubborn, living in a fantasy that I'd give in soon enough. Miguel died at 68, heart attack. And you know what breaks my heart? He didn't have to die. His body just gave out because he had given up long before. For the last 3 years of his life, I watched a man who had quit, who woke up with no purpose, who spent his days waiting for the next meal, the next pill, the next TV show. He was dead long before his heart stopped. And it wasn't just Miguel. I know dozens of people who just decided 65 was the magic number to quit. As if there's some universal law saying after that age you can't be strong, agile, healthy anymore. Helena, who at 66 stopped driving because she said her reflexes weren't what they used to be. Paul, who at 69 refused to leave his house because any exertion left him wiped out. Lucy, who at 70 was on 11 different medications a day and thought that was normal, inevitable, part of the aging package. But here's the brutal truth nobody wants to hear. You're not too old. You're just out of shape. And being out of shape is fixable at any age, but it requires something most people aren't willing to give: effort, consistency, patience, and above all, the courage to defy the narrative everyone around you is selling. I'll give you concrete examples of what I do and what you should be capable of if you're over 65 and want to be part of the 2%. First, you should be able to get up off the floor without using your hands. Sit on the floor right now and try to stand up without putting your hands on anything. If you can, congratulations, you're on the right track. If you can't, you've got work to do. This simple movement is one of the biggest indicators of longevity and independence. Studies show people who can't do this are far more likely to die in the coming years, not because the movement itself is vital, but because it reveals muscle strength, balance, coordination, and flexibility. Second, you should be able to stand on one leg for at least 20 seconds. This measures balance, muscular strength, and coordination. People who can't have a much higher risk of falls, and falls after 65 are a leading cause of loss of independence and premature death. Third, you should be able to walk briskly for at least 30 minutes without getting winded. I'm not talking about running. I'm talking about vigorous walking. If you can't, your cardiovascular system is crying for help. Fourth, you should be able to squat all the way down and stand back up unassisted. Fifth, you should be able to carry your own groceries from the store without feeling like you're going to pass out. But here's the problem. Most people don't even try. They've already decided they can't before they even attempt it. They look at these challenges and think, that's not for me. I'm too old. I have health issues. I can't risk it. And in doing so, they guarantee they never will. Because you don't improve what you don't challenge. You don't strengthen what you don't use. You don't regain what you abandon. Your body is an extraordinary adaptation machine. It responds to what you ask of it. If you spend years asking for nothing, it gives you exactly that, nothing. But if you start asking for movement, for strength, for endurance, it responds. Even at 70, 80, 90 years old, I've seen it happen for myself. I've seen my muscles grow back. I've seen my joints move with ease again. I've seen my breath improve. I've seen my posture correct itself. And none of this happened by miracle. It happened because I decided not to accept decline as destiny. I see people in their 50s with more limitations than I have at 71, and it's not because I'm special. It's because they gave up and I didn't. It's because they chose the easy path of acceptance and I chose the hard path of resistance. And yes, it's hard. There are days I wake up with pain. There are days I don't want to exercise. There are days I look at the couch and think how much more comfortable it would be to just sit there and watch TV all day. But I don't, because I know what happens when you do that. I've seen it happen to people I love. I watched Miguel slowly fade. I watched Helena lose her independence. I watched Paul become a prisoner in his own home, and I refused to go down that path. And look, I'm not saying you need to become a marathon runner. I'm not saying you need to lift heavy weights. I'm saying you need to keep your body functional. You need to be able to live your life without depending on others for basic tasks. You need to be able to play with your grandkids, to travel, to do the things you've always wanted to do. And for that, you need a body that works. A body that you've kept working through consistent choices over the years. Not heroic choices, not monumental sacrifices, but small daily choices that add up over time. Let me tell you what's changed in my life since I made that decision 8 years ago. Before, I'd wake up with pain. My body was stiff, my back ached, my knees complained with every movement. It took me half an hour just to feel minimally comfortable after getting out of bed. Today, I wake up and I jump out of bed. Literally. My body is ready for the day. Before, I'd climb stairs slowly, holding the railing, winded at the top. Today, I climb stairs normally, sometimes taking 2 steps at a time just because I can. Before, I'd avoid situations that required physical exertion. Today, I seek them out. I offer to help when someone needs to move furniture. I accept invitations for long hikes. I play with my grandkids without fear of injury. And the difference isn't just in the body, it's in the mind. I feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years. If I could talk to my 60-year-old self, I'd say this: stop using age as an excuse. Stop looking at your friends who've given up and thinking you should do the same. Stop believing that pain is normal just because you're older. Stop accepting limitations without question. Stop expecting your body to get better without you doing anything about it. Stop taking pills like they're the solution when most of the time they're just a Band-Aid covering up problems you could fix with movement. Stop saying you'll start tomorrow, because tomorrow you'll say the same thing. Start moving every single day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Start challenging your body in small but consistent ways. Start eating like your life depends on it, because it does. Start sleeping like it's sacred, because it is. And above all, start believing that you still have plenty of time and plenty of capability ahead of you. The difference between the 2% and the 98% isn't in genetics. It's not in luck. It's not in having access to expensive treatments or fancy gyms. It's in the mindset. It's in the refusal to accept decline as inevitable. It's in the courage to be different when everyone around you is throwing in the towel. It's in the willingness to do the work day after day, even when no one is watching, even when no one is applauding you, even when your own body sometimes feels like it's fighting against you. It's in waking up every day and choosing resistance over surrender. It's in looking at your age not as an excuse, but as an even bigger reason to take care of yourself. And you know what the irony of all this is? Now that I'm 71, I feel better than I did at 60. I have more energy, more drive, more joy. My body hurts less. My mind is clearer. My life is richer, not because I got younger, but because I chose to age differently. I chose not to surrender, and that choice made all the difference. I wake up excited for the day. I go to sleep satisfied with what I did. I look in the mirror and I see someone who is living, not just existing. I see someone who still has plans, goals, things they want to do. I see someone who isn't waiting for death to arrive, but enjoying every day they have. There's one thing I've learned in these past few years that I think you need to hear. Your body isn't your enemy. It's not betraying you. It's not giving up on you. It's just responding to what you ask of it. If you spend years asking for inactivity, it gives you weak muscles and stiff joints. If you spend years asking for movement and challenge, it gives you strength and flexibility. That's how it works. And the good news is, it's never too late to change the request. I changed at 63. I know people who changed at 75, at 80, at 85. Because the human body, this extraordinary machine, remains capable of adapting right up to the last day. But you have to give it the chance. So if you're over 65 and you can still do these things I've mentioned, you need to know that you are rare. You are valuable. You are a living example that it's possible to age without giving up. And if you can't do these things yet, you need to know that it's not too late. Your body has an incredible capacity to adapt, to get stronger, to recover, no matter the age. But you have to give it the chance. You have to stop treating it like it's broken and start treating it like a machine that needs regular maintenance. Because that's exactly what it is. An incredible machine that can last a lot longer than you think, as long as you take care of it. Look at your life right now. Look at the choices you're making every day. Are you choosing the couch or the walk? Are you choosing fast food or real food? Are you choosing the excuse or the action? Are you choosing surrender or resistance? Because every choice you make is building your future. It's determining whether you'll be part of the 2% or the 98%. And I guarantee you, there's nothing special about the 2% except the refusal to give up. No magic genetics, no extraordinary luck, no unlimited resources. Just the daily decision not to accept decline as inevitable. And there's something else you need to understand. When you give up on your body, you're not just giving up on the ability to climb stairs or carry groceries. You're giving up your independence. You're putting yourself in a position where you'll need to rely on others for basic things. You're robbing yourself of the dignity of self-care. And worse, you're stealing quality time with the people you love, because when your body doesn't work, you don't travel, you don't explore, you don't create new memories. You get stuck in a routine of limitations that only gets worse over time. Is that what you want? Is that how you want to spend the next 10, 20, 30 years? Because you may have a lot more time than you imagine. And the quality of that time depends entirely on the choices you make today. If you've made it this far, it's because something in this story resonated with you. Maybe you're starting to realize you've been using age as an excuse when you could actually be doing so much more. Maybe you're tired of watching your body deteriorate and you want to do something about it. Maybe you've recognized yourself in the people I've described, those who have given up, and it scared you. You are not alone. This channel exists for people like you, people who refuse to accept that getting older means giving up. Subscribe here to get more stories, more truths about what really works to keep your body and mind strong after 60. Every week, I bring new reflections, real experiences, lessons I've learned over these years of challenging the narrative of aging. Hit like if this video made you think differently about your own capabilities, about what you thought was possible at your age. And please, tell me in the comments, which of these things can you still do? Or which one are you going to start training for today? Your story can inspire someone who is about to give up. Let's build a community of the 2% together. People who have chosen to truly live until their last day. Because time is passing, yes, but you still have the power to choose how you will age. Don't waste that power. Don't be another statistic of the 98%. Be the exception. Be rare. Be someone who looks back 10 years from now and is proud of the choices they made today.